Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Welcome to Warwick Abstock's fourth Ramadan event. This is part of our series to combat food for thought, to combat your thought for food. Today we're exploring Surah Al-Qadr, the night of honor. Before we do get started in this, we're going to have a recitation of the surah by Brother Muhammad Suji. So we're going to go over to him now. Thank you.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر ليلة القدر خير من 1000 شهر تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Thank you very much, Muhammad, for that beautiful recitation of Surah Al-Qadr. Now, today we are honored to have Sheikh Bahmanpour speaking for us today. Sheikh Bahmanpour is a cleric and a popular lecturer. He currently holds a position in the Islamic Centre of London as the Director of Interfaith Relations. One of Sheikh Bahmanpour's specialties or fields of interest is what we have him here for, and that is the sciences and exegesis of the Quran. So today we've chosen Surah Al-Qadr, fitting for the month of Ramadan. We're recommended to recite this more during the month of Ramadan. We're recommended to recite it a lot in general. A lot of narrations tell us of the importance of this surah itself. And within the surah itself, it tells us that the night of honor is greater than 1,000 months. So I will leave it to the expert to delve into this topic and give us an enlightening insight into this surah itself. So please go ahead and you can start talking, Sheikh Bahmanpour.
Thank you very much for providing this platform to discuss the Quran in this holy month. And I just start by saying salam to everyone, and inshallah your prayers and your fasts are accepted. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. The month of Ramadan is a month of spiritual wayfaring. Allah has made it possible for everyone. Usually spiritual wayfaring is something specific to a certain group of people. But Allah wanted this to be general and universal, to include everyone in His mercy. And that's why He has actually blessed us by telling us that, be my guest, by having some withdrawal from your physical daily habit. And I want to give you another type of food, another type of nourishment, which is something which makes you to keep going towards the next year in your spiritual refreshment. Now, regarding Surah Al-Qadr, certainly you have this surah memorized by heart, you recite it in your prayers. But of course, in the Quran, there is always deeper meanings. Always, no matter how much we explore, how much we investigate, there is always a deeper meaning. There's a hadith from Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam, who says that in al-Quran, ala arba'ata ashya. Quran is revealed on 4 levels. Ashya here, of course, means level in the context that we can see later on. Ala al-ibara, wal-ishara, wal-lata'if, wal-haqa'iq. So the four levels of the Quran are ibara, just the expression of the Quran. That's what we usually read and recite. And also try to find out the exact meaning of the expression. We go to the tafseer. This is something that most of us are benefiting from. Then there is a deeper level underneath this expression, which the Imam calls it ishara, allusion. There are allusions in certain verses, or actually in all verses of the Quran, that if we try to go deeper and purify our hearts, because usually the books, the scriptures of God, the spiritual books, are more understood by purity of heart and reflection rather than just by reading and information and having information. So we go deeper, there are allusions there. And then there are lata'if. Latifa is a sort of very subtle meaning which could not be grasped except by those who are capable to see those lata'if. And al-haqa'iq, the real meaning, what is intended by the source of revelation. I mean, you can read an expression, it may mean many things. You cannot find out what is the real intention of the person who has made that statement. However, in the Quran, there is a very, very real, true meaning which is intended by God. This is the haqa'iq of the Quran. Then the Imam says that فَالْعِبَارَةُ لِلْعَوَامِ. Expression is for ordinary people. People who don't have very special, deeper level of faith and knowledge. وَالْإِشَارَةُ لِلْخَوَاصِ. Ishara, those allusions are for the elites. وَالْلَطَائِفُ لِلْأَوْلِيَا. Those subtle meanings are for awliya Allah, friends of God. Friend of God is someone who has taken God as his friend, loves him, and tries to do anything which someone would do towards his beloved. These are the friends of God. They understand the Quran at a better level. They understand those lata'if. And then, وَالْحَقَائِقُ لِلْأَنْبِيَا. Of course, the real meaning, what is intended by God, is only grasped by Anbiya. And of course, those who are heir to Anbiya, like the Awsiya of Anbiya, like our Imams who are the Awsiya of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So, it is important for us to know that the Quran is not something that you just read and try to understand like any other book. The good thing about it that this hadith tells us is that everyone, whether they are lay people, whether they are from Khawas, the elite, whether they are from the elite of the elite, from the awliya, everyone will benefit from this book. Either from the ibara of the book or from isharat or lata'if, everyone would benefit. Just like a sort of big, huge table set for people who have different appetites and different biological needs. They can get whatever they want from the Quran. The important thing is that we have to, in our life, we have to try to purify ourselves in a way that when we recite the Quran, we recite it as if God is speaking to us. Not us. God is speaking to me directly. And then by submitting to the text of the Quran, by putting myself available to these meanings, I will try to get as much meaning as I can. Sometimes we rush in judgment. Oh, this verse doesn't make sense, or this verse is not related to our time anymore. You know, this is not the way we have to treat a scripture. Scriptures are sent down for all times, and therefore we have to treat them with honor, with respect, and we, just like a very, very humble student, that we try to understand what God is trying to convey to us. And then at different levels, God would convey to us different meanings. Even at different stages of our life, God would convey to us different meanings to us, deeper levels of what is underneath these statements. Now, when we come to Surah Al-Qadr, the same thing. And this surah, of course, is telling us that the depth of this, the first verse, the depth of Laylatul Qadr is such that you cannot fathom it. Inna anzalnahu fi Laylatul Qadr. We have sent down this Quran in Laylatul Qadr. Wa ma adraka ma Laylatul Qadr. Ma adraka means what makes you know. Means nothing can make you know. This is beyond the conceptual ability of human being to understand what Laylatul Qadr is. However, I will explain it to you based on your conceptual capacity, understanding. This is in all the verses of the Quran, which are followed by وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ, what makes you know. Al-Haqqa, Mal-Haqqa, Wama Adraka Mal-Haqqa. Haqqa is about the Qiyamah, the resurrection. What makes you know? What is it? It means you never can know. At least as long as we are in this realm of our existence, we never can know. However, Allah says, I explain to you as much as your comprehensive ability can grasp. And here, وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا لَيْلَةُ الْقَدْرِ, so tell us the same thing, that of course I will explain to you what is Laylatul Qadr, but do not think that this is enough for knowing what Laylatul Qadr is. Laylatul Qadr, the way of course is explained to us, Laylatul Qadr خَيْرٌ مِّنْ أَلْفِ شَهْرٍ. The night of Qadr is better than 1,000 months. تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر. The angels and the Ruh will descend on that night with the leave of their Lord, with every command. They bring the commands of God to the earth. Salamun hiya hatta matla al-fajr. Until the daybreak, they will be peace and salam in that night. Now, every single statement in these verses needs lots of reflection and discussion to understand what they mean. First of all, Laylatul Qadr khayrun min alf shahr. It is better than 1,000 months. What does that mean? In what sense it is better than 1,000 months? It means that there is a baraka in this night. You know, baraka is a touch of grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which increases the outcome of everything. That's baraka. That's what we call baraka. For example, Allah gives baraka to your life. What does that mean? It means that although you live, for example, for 60, 70 years, the effective lifespan, however, may Allah make the result of these 70 years like the life of 700 years or 7,000 years. Just like the life of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He lived 63 years, of course, 63 lunar years, which is about 61 solar year. And the results, the benefits, the proceed of that life was 60 million years, because you see from then till now how many people have been connected to God through him. So his life had barakah, had blessing. This is the meaning of barakah. In the very famous same sermon that the Prophet address in which the Prophet addressed his companions just before the Ramadan, end of Sha'ban, Ayyuhan Nas, Qad aqbala ilaykum shahrullah, the month of Allah is coming towards you, bil baraka wal rahma wal maghfirah. Now, I don't want to talk about rahma and maghfirah, that's a different area. It takes us much time. However, baraka means the whole month of Ramadan has baraka. What does it mean that it has baraka? It means that whatever you do in this month, the result of it, the outcome of it, is given increments by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is increased, it's multiplied. Just all of you have heard that you recite one verse of the Quran in this month, it's just like reciting the whole Quran. Anfasukum fiha tasbih. Even your breath is just like tasbih in this month. It means barakah is given to you. وَنَوْمُكُمْ فِيهِ عِبَادَةٌ أَنفَاسُكُمْ فِيهِ تَسْبِيحٌ وَنَوْمُكُمْ فِيهِ عِبَادَةٌ. Your sleeping is worship. It means even this barakah has been extended to your sleeping time. Now, Laylatul Qadr is somehow, so to speak, stands out with this barakah. It is completely different from all other days and nights of Ramadan, which is shrouded by barakah, in which everything that you do in terms of charity, worship, good act, it is multiplied by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Istighfar, contemplation, supplication, whatever you do has the barakah, but Laylatul Qadr stands out here. It's not equal to other days and nights of Ramadan. It is better than 1,000 months. Just to explain a bit more about this barakah, there is one of the miracles of the Prophet, peace be on him, was something that he did during the digging the ditch, Khandaq, in the Battle of Ahzab or Battle of Khandaq, Battle of the Ditch. When they were digging the ditch, of course, it was a very, very tiresome work. About 6 kilometers of ditch was going to, and as wide as about 10 meters, and as deep as about 5-6 meters. It was so hard. They wanted to do it in a few days, only they had a few days time before the Meccans reached Medina, and everyone was taking part, including the Prophet, peace be on him. The Prophet had allocated a few meters to a group of companions to complete, so that it is done. And what actually added to the hardship was that it was not a very good year in terms of proceeds of farms and date palms and such things. So they did it while they were very hungry. Jabir ibn Abdullah says that one day I was just passing, and the Prophet, after digging his sort of share of Khandaq, was just resting, lying back on his back, having his abba under his head. And I saw that because of hunger, he had tied some stones on his stomach so that the pangs of hunger would not give him such much pain. I felt lots of pity for the Prophet. I went home. I said to my wife, "What do we have at home?" She said that we have a few kilograms of barley, and we had a small little goat. I said, "Okay, can you make that barley into bread, and I will slaughter this goat. We make some sort of gravy or something, and I want to invite the Prophet to our house tonight." Okay, they did. The cooking started. He went back, prayed with the Prophet. After Isha, he said to Prophet, "Ya Rasulallah, I want to invite you to my house for dinner." because I knew that he didn't have anything at home. As I said, it was a very, very hard year, very difficult. The Prophet said, what do you have for dinner? Jabir said that, oh, I had a goat, I have cooked it, and my wife has made some bread, baked some bread, so that's what we have. And suddenly, without me knowing, he called out, the Prophet, that everyone is invited to Jabir's house tonight for dinner. And you can imagine how could hungry people who were all had all worked for the whole day and didn't have anything to eat for the night, how, of course, they could devour any food which was available. Jabir says, I was stunned, and I rushed to home before the Prophet comes and said to my wife, woe to us. You know what happened? Prophet has invited everyone. These are about 700 people. He has invited everyone to our house for tonight. And my wife told me, apparently the wife was a bit cleverer than Jabir, what did you say to Prophet? He said, well, I just told him that we have a goat and some bread. He said, okay, so Prophet knows better, don't worry. And God knows how worried I was for 700 people coming to my house for eating, for that little bit of cooking. And then I was relieved when my wife said that. The Prophet came, the companions came. And of course, the house was very small. They sat outside. The Prophet went to the kitchen, put a sort of a cloth or fabric on this pot in which the goat was cooked, and something on the oven. And then said, okay, bring dishes. And he himself gave food 10 at a time for people. Everyone ate and everyone was satisfied. And the food was so much that we gave to neighbors as well. This is what we call baraka. Now, you may think that this is a story. I have noticed this, that some people have done this in our time. So it's not a very big miracle. But it is barakah that Allah gives to certain things through the, of course, pure souls. Now, Laylatul Qadr is better than 1,000 months, means that the worship in Laylatul Qadr is given such a barakah that, for example, Laylatul Qadr is how long? Depending whether it is in summer or winter, it may be from 4 or 5 hours to 8-9 hours. Okay, and these few hours, the acts, the deeds you perform in these few hours is given such a barakah that it equals the act of 1,000 months worship, of course, in which there is no Laylatul Qadr. So 1,000 months is the type of barakah that Allah gives on Laylatul Qadr. Laylatul Qadr khayrun min alf shahr. Now, before going to the next verse, verse number 4, تَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالرُّوحُ فِيهَا بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِمْ مِنْ كُلِّ أَمْرٍ. Let me just discuss about the meaning of Qadr here, because the commentators have given different meanings to Qadr in this expression of Laylatul Qadr. Some have said that Qadr is from Qutra, power. Of course, this is a sort of very, very minority view among the commentators, because Qadr is never used as Qutra or as power. Unfortunately, in most of our English translations, we see that Night of Qadr is translated as Night of Power. Of course, the power of Allah is manifested in this month more than any other night, because the angels come down with His commands. However, Laylatul Qadr cannot mean night of power. It should have been Laylatul Qudra rather than Laylatul Qadr. Okay, the other meaning which is mentioned for Qadr here, Qadr as status, Qadr as value. So Laylatul Qadr means the night of a valuable night, a night which gives a status, either which has a status in itself or gives a status, gives honor and dignity to those who worship in this night. And that's why, we shouldn't miss, we shouldn't lose even minutes of Laylatul Qadr. Sometimes we think that, okay, in Laylatul Qadr, we go to the mosque or whatever. Well, this year we cannot go to the mosque, but we do certain a'mal and that's finished. No. That a'mal is there as part of the worship or acts that we do on Laylatul Qadr. We have to use Laylatul Qadr from its beginning to the end. Of course, breaking our fast in itself is an ibadah, is a worship. We do that. And then we shouldn't miss or lose any moment of Laylatul Qadr. Yes, part of that may be spent in discussing knowledge, in listening to khutbah, or things like that. But until the very morning, hatta matla al-fajr, we have to use this because it gives sharaf, it gives honor, it gives dignity to one who performs acts and deeds in this night. The other meaning which is mentioned is, which is very, of course, improbable, is that Qadr is from tightness, like the verse, Allah yabsutu rizqa liman yasha'u wa yaqdir. Allah expands the provision for anyone he wishes and tightens it. So Qadr is from tightness. Why tightness? Well, this is a sort of very fancy view, which some old commentators, early commentators have mentioned. And that is because the number of angels who come to the earth, we have earthly angels, we have heavenly angels. Earthly angels are those angels who work on the earth, doing different things, have different functions in relation to us, to plants, to rain, to sea, or things like that. And then there are angels in the heaven, the first heaven, second heaven, third heaven. I mean, there's a hierarchy of angels. And the angels from heaven, of course, descend to do what? Descend to bring the commands of Allah to these earthly angels so that they implement them. This is one meaning of course, the reason why the angels come down on Laylatul Qadr. The number of these angels which come down, descend on Laylatul Qadr is so huge, so sizable, that if they were sort of physical beings, the earth couldn't actually contain them. There would be a tightness in their presence on the earth, or there is a tightness even in a sort of malakuti sense. There is a tightness in that night on the earth because of the magnitude of the number of angels who descend on this night. That's why it's called Laylatul Qadr. Well, these three meanings are mentioned by commentators. However, the best meaning, which is supported by other verses of the Quran and also supported by narrations from the most knowledgeable of this ummah, that's Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, is Qadr from taqdeer, from measuring, from making measures for destiny of what should happen during the year. So a night of ordainment, night of destiny, a night in which Allah decrees his rulings until next year. We have the beginning of the year, of course, from the 1st of Muharram, the lunar year, I mean the lunar Arabic name, year. However, our Imams have said that in the higher realm, the beginning of the year is Laylatul Qadr. Why? Because everything starts on Laylatul Qadr and finishes on Laylatul Qadr next year, so that the matters of the following year is decided on Laylatul Qadr. And therefore, it is a night of ordainment, a night in which destinies until the next year are ordained by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is delivered to the higher angels, heavenly angels, these commands, and they come with these commands to the earth, giving it to the earthly angels. Of course, they have other action, function as well, which I will mention later on in Salamun hiya hatta matla'il fajr. This is another function of the angels who come to the earth. So not only the angels, but Ruh, which is higher than angels. Before talking about difference between Ruh and angel, if we get time, there's another allusion to this night in Surah Al-Duha. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم حاميم والكتاب المبين إنا أنزلناه في ليلة مباركة. Baraka, you see? Mubaraka means a night which is full of barakah. Coming back to what we were discussing about baraka. إنا أنزلناه في ليلة مباركة. Just exactly like إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر in Surah Al-Qadr. In Surah Dukhan, it says إنا أنزلناه في ليلة مباركة. In a blessed night, full of barakah. إنا كنا منذرين. Why we send the Quran down? Because we wanted to warn people. This warning is very important. Warning us not to just spend our lives idly, not to just waste our time in this life. Something else is coming. This is not the whole issue of creation, and so on and so forth. إنا أنزلناه في ليلة مباركة إنا كنا منذرين. فيها, what happens in this night? What happens? فيها يفرق كل أمر حكيم. Every firm command, ruling, is decided on this night. Now, this Hakim may mean something which cannot be overturned, cannot be revoked, or as Allama Tabatabai Rahmatullah alayhi mentions very beautifully in his tafseer. You know, tafseer of Allama Tabatabai is very high pitched, of course. It's a bit beyond the level of many of us. However, he has found these meanings by his depth of knowledge, which has made his tafsir something very, very different from all other tafasir. Although in many verses it's like just other tafasir, but in some of the verses he has brought in concepts and meanings which you cannot find in any other tafsir. And one of them is here. He says Hakim is something which is not distinguished, things which are not distinguished from each other. It is amalgamated, and then they have to somehow separate and be distinguished. This is Hakim, and then the furqa comes, fiha yufraqu, is separated, is dispatched, is issued. He says that at the higher realm, of course, Allah has destined everything. However, the angels don't know about what has He destined. And when we say destiny, it doesn't mean that human beings are forced, we don't have free will. No, there are certain things for which we don't have free will. It's destined by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You never can decide whether you want to be a boy or a girl. You never can decide whether you want to be born in Europe or in Africa or in Asia or whatever else. You never can decide how long you want to live. So these are the things that Allah has destined. And then, of course, our reactions against these destinies would give us that free will and would determine what is our position and our rank with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these commands, which are amalgamated, which are unseparated, are quite merged into each other. The commands for 1 year is separated. فِيهَا يُفْرَقُ كُلُّ أَمْرٍ حَكِيمٍ. Amran min indina. These, of course, are our commands which come. Inna kunna mursalin. We are sending down these commands. We are sending down these commands. So, everything, as we have in narrations, everything which belongs to next year for everyone, whether you are a mu'min or a kafir, or it is related to the world of humans or animal or plants or whatever, the command that what should happen is dispatched, brought down, and they come. تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر. Every command which should be carried out during that year is brought down, is firm. Is the other meaning of Amrun Hakim is firm ruling. However, of course, لله فيه المشيئة. The A'imma was asked, is it possible that something which is ordained or decreed at the night of Qadr to be changed and overturned during the year? Yes, it is. Allah's hand is not tight. وَقَالَتِ الْيَهُودُ يَدُ اللَّهِ مَغْلُولَةٌ. The Jews say that Allah has destined something in eternity and He cannot change it. غُلَّتْ أَيْدِيهِمْ. May their hands be tight. وَلُعِنُوا بِمَا قَالُوا بَلْ يَدَاهُ مَبْسُوطَتَانِ. His hands are full open. Yes. Maybe something is decreed for you on Lailatul Qadr, but with some good action, some dua, some supplication, Allah will change it over the year. However, if everything goes as it is, these commands will be enforced and go until the next year. This is what it means that the angels come with every command. تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر. What is ruh? What is angels? Some people say that ruh is Jibreel, as it is mentioned in the Quran in several other verses. نزل به الروح الأمين على قلبك. The trust that the Spirit has brought this Quran down to your heart. So Jibreel is called ruh. However, he is called ruh just as the Quran, for example, is called ruh, as our souls are called ruh as well. Anything which has life beyond this material realm can be called ruh. So the angels are ruh, but in a different sense. We have one narration from Imam Ali alayhi salam that ruh is a higher creation, greater than angels. In a sense, the realm of ruh is a realm which manages the realm of angels, and the realm of angels is a realm that manages our realm, material realm. So even the ruh, which is the greatest, يَوْمَ يَقُومُ الْرُوحُ وَالْمَلَائِكَةُ صَفًّا, the day when ruh and angels stand in respect for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we say this ruh means Jibreel, and Jibreel was an angel, we may say that, okay, Jibreel is singled out because of his greatness and honor. But of course, what about Mikael? What about Israfil? These are archangels, not, of course, less honorable and less sizable than Jibreel. So ruh can be a different creation. It comes down as well on that night. تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر. Until the daybreak, until the Fajr, there is salam in this night. Now, what does that mean? Bringing the commands is one thing. This salam to be there is another thing. In narrations that we have, that these angels, when they bring these commands, they of course go and say salam to the Imam alayhi salam and make him aware of these commands. That is possible, of course. However, this is more general than that. If we say that salam is the blessings of the angels who come to the earth on this night. So one meaning of salam, let me somehow classify different views which are mentioned about salam. One meaning is that salamun hiya hatta matla al-fajr, or تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر. Some say من كل أمر سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر. They bring every command which is which is salam, which is somehow pure from evil, not mixed with illness, in a sense that they are short of giving the best benefit. All these commands come down, min kull amrin salam, and then it is until matla al-fajr. However, we know that, as we have in hadith, it is not only good things which are destined or decreed on Laylatul Qadr, even evil things. But by evil, I mean that those who have to meet evil, to meet this misfortune because of their acts, it is decreed on that night as well. So we cannot say that it means يقدر فيها إلا الصالم لا يقدر فيها إلا الصالم من الأمور. Only the commands which are free from harm are destined on this night. This is what some exegetes have said, and they say we do not stop on Amr when we are reciting. We say من كل أمر سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر. Okay, this is one view. The other view is that when the angels come to the earth and they see the mu'mineen, they say salam to them. Salamun hiya hatta matla'il fajr. They see you in worship, they see you in prayer, and the angels, the angels are very, very delicate creatures, very lovable and very much loving others. So when they see someone in worship, you have heard, for example, when you are, of course, it's best to pray in Jama'ah. But when we have to pray on our own, in Furada, if we say Adhan and Iqamah, immediately 2 rows of angels line behind us to pray with us, because they love prayer, because they love people who pray. So when these angels come, they say salam, and their salam is not heard by you, and their salam is not word, their salam is blessing that they pass on to you without you knowing it. They pass on the blessing, and it's not until matla al-fajr. So when you sleep, they don't find you aware to give you that salam and blessing, but if you keep awake, that blessing is given to you. The other meaning is, and also in many ahadith we have that Allah gives us the tawfiq, that we succeed in catching the fadlul Laylatul Qadr, the merits of Laylatul Qadr. Maybe catching the merits of Laylatul Qadr is somehow receiving this salam from the angels. And this is another meaning. One other meaning is that some people have just as a matter of some allusion have thought is that, the kings in old days, they had a salam day. It means that they opened the doors of the court, everyone could come and say salam to them. And of course, they received some presents and gifts, things. So it was the day of salam. Now, one may say, even if it's not the meaning of this verse, that night of Qadr is the night of salam for Allah, the King of the universe. It means that he opens the gates of his arsh, he opens the gates of his presence, and everyone can actually go and have the benefit of saying salam to Allah. And saying salam to Allah means, of course, you supplicate, you worship, things like that. And Allah will give you benefits and presence in that night. So salamun hiya hatta matla al-fajr. Inshallah, Allah gives the baraka of Laylatul Qadr to all of us, the baraka of Ramadan, the baraka of fasting, and of course the full benefits of Laylatul Qadr, which Allah has blessed us and blessed this nation by this type of worship, and this time of worship, which He has informed us about. وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Thank you so much, Sheikh, for that talk. Truly enlightening. I know that I got a lot of notes from that. There were some really, really good points that you made. I especially liked the detail of the 4 levels of Quran that you went into. It's not something that we tend to think about often as well. And something that was quite close to me is to recite the Quran as if it's God speaking to us. That was something that as well we usually just recite for completion or just to understand, but this is a different perspective, and I'm sure it will help a lot of people in the future. Now, hopefully, inshallah, we have some questions that from some of our audience have asked. If that's okay with you, we can go ahead and ask those questions.
Sure.
Okay, so the first question is on getting into tafseer. So they say, do you have any book recommendations to get into learning about the tafseer of the Quran?
There are certain books which give some information about some verses of the Quran or whole verses of the Quran. Initially, the best thing is to read the translations carefully and compare different translations as well. You know, the reason we do not translate the Quran like they have translated the Bible or the Gospel is that if you refer to different translations, you see that no 2 translations have translated the Quran exactly in the same way. So we would lose the benefit of having the intended meaning of the Quran by getting the views of the translators into the text. But if we do not know Arabic, what? So we have to refer to those. Then there are books with short sort of comments on every verse. There is this Tafsir al-Jalalain by As-Suyuti, who's a Sunni Maliki, was a Sunni Maliki of the 9th and 10th century. It's a very concise, it has been translated into English, and it gives you certain views and certain aspects about verses of the Quran in a very succinct way. Of course, there are certain verses which is interpreted differently by Shias and Sunnis. It doesn't matter. I mean, those verses we always know that have a meaning which our A'imma alayhi Musala have mentioned, but these are only a few verses of the Quran. All other verses of the Quran are that the interpretation is something that interprets in the same manner. Then there are books like, for example, Mir Ahmad Ali, interpretation of the Quran, which is a translation with some sort of footnotes and comments. Then we have Yusuf Ali's as well, who was a Bora scholar, but has translated and commented very nicely on different verses of the Quran. Recently, another book has been published, The Study Quran, under the editorship of Sayyid Hussein Nas, which could be bought from Amazon. It doesn't have the Arabic text of the Quran. It has a translation, very good translation. Of course, not very accurate, because translations, we have to make a balance between clear translations and accurate translations. There are certain translations which are very clear but not accurate. There are certain translations which are very accurate but not very clear. So we have to balance between the two. And maybe Ali Quli Qarai's translation of the Quran combines the two very nicely, that accuracy and being lucidity. And in this book, The Study Quran, there is translation, and also there are footnotes about different verses of the Quran. There's also another Quran tafsir online, which is relatively good, and that's the enlightened, it's tafsir al-nur, but enlightened, enlightenment, something like this, a tafsir of enlightened tafsir of the Quran. You can find it if you say the enlightening tafsir of the Quran, if you Google that. Also, Sheikh Qaraati has a very good tafsir, which is translated into several languages, including English, and I think you can find that online as well. So this is what I know, as far as I know.
Thank you. Another question is, how can one best prepare themselves for Lailatul Qadr? So before, during, after, how exactly should one prepare themselves, and what does it involve?
Well, the first thing is that you have to sleep somewhere during the day so that you are not sleepy at night. That's the first preparation. And do not eat much food so that you get sleepy and drowsy. And then somehow you have to commit yourself for the night, that I want to keep this night as one of the best nights of my worship, supplication, prayer, things like that. Try to submit your heart to Allah. Mirza Jawad Maliki Tabrizi, who was one of the greatest teachers of akhlaq and irfan, and Imam Khomeini rahmatullah alayhi had studied with him, has a book, Al-Muraqibat, called Al-Muraqibat fi A'mal al-Sana. There he says that be careful about Laylatul Qadr so that you do not waste your time. You have to see which type of worship works for you better, wouldn't bore you. That's the most important thing. Your heart should be alive, should be fresh on that night. So if you think that just praying that 100 units of prayers is better for you, pray. If you think, no, that bores you, you want to recite the Quran, recite the Quran. If you think that's not good, you want to supplicate, you supplicate. If you think you want to reflect and contemplate, do something which enriches you rather than mechanically doing amal. This mechanically doing amal, although it's good because, of course, you keep awake, you do it for the sake of Allah, you hope reward from Allah, and Allah, of course, is more honorable than someone who's hoping his reward, he would withdraw it from him. But the important thing is that the a'mal on Laylatul Qadr should not be mechanical. Should be something which comes from the heart. That is the best preparation that you have to actually. And then, for example, you say, well, on the night of Qadr, I want to do these a'mal. But when it comes, you see that your heart wouldn't be quite forthcoming with regards to them. You like to do something else. It doesn't matter. Do something else so that you benefit from the night.
Thank you. Is there any difference between a Laylatul Qadr in a time zone where there's only 6 hours and Laylatul Qadr in a time zone where there's maybe 9-10 hours of nighttime? Is there a difference in the amount of reward someone can get?
Of course, there's difference, because you spend more time, you have a greater sort of opportunity. And we have in narrations that Ash-Shata Rabi'ul Mu'min, winter is the spring of the Mu'min, because of course it has shorter time nights which they can spend all night in ibadah, and that can keep awake. However, in longer nights, which we have to exert more energy to keep ourselves awake, certainly it will bring us more reward. And in our lifespan, we have different sort of Laylatul Qadr with regards to the duration. So we get benefit of all these, inshallah, in our lifetime.
Thank you. Another question is, what is Ruh al-Quddus in the Quran? As there's references made to it in Dua Iftitah as well.
Ruh al-Qudus means the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit, we believe that Holy Spirit is Jibreel. And Allah would support his angels with Jibreel, with Holy Spirit, as he did with Jesus. وَأَيَّدْنَاهُ بِرُوحِ الْقُدُسِ. And this Holy Spirit, of course, have different functions. Jibreel, sometimes it brings revelation. Sometimes it gives people ability to do, the prophets to do certain miracles, like Jesus, peace be on him. And sometimes it even supports the believers. Now, the Ruh which supports the believers may be different from Jibreel or Ruh al-Qudus, but would have the same function as we have in the verse of the Quran, وَأَيَّدَهُمْ بِرُوحٍ مِّنْهِ. Allah will support the believers with the Ruh, with the Spirit which comes from Him. And this may be Jibreel as well. However, we keep Ruh al-Qudus reserved for Anbiya and Awliya, and of course other types of Ruh for the believers.
Okay, thank you. I just have another question now. One is from Karar. He's going to jump on to this call and ask it himself. So, Karar.
Okay. Alaykum salam. Well, the most outstanding one is Malakul Maut, who takes our souls, isn't it? He has the greatest effect on our lives. He takes our souls and takes us from this realm to another realm. So, and he has lots of angels under him. Tawaffathu Rusuluna, our messengers, which are angels, when the time of death comes, they come and take the souls of the believers under, of course, قُلْ يَتَوَفَّاكُمْ مَلَكُ الْمَوْتِ, the Malakul Maut would take. Then there are angels who protects us. لَهُ مُعَقِّبَاتٌ مِّن بَيْنِ يَدَيْهِ وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِ يَحْفَظُونَهُ مِنْ أَمْرِ اللَّهِ. Every person have angels who protect them from different calamities and things like that until the time of death comes. Then they withdraw and allow angel of death to come and take our souls. And then there are angels who blow or inspire our hearts in the same manner that there are shayateen who whisper in our hearts. There are angels who inspire us with good. We have in hadith that every heart has two ears. From one ear, the shaitan would whisper, and from the other ear, the angel would whisper, would inspire. And that's how this makes a balance in the heart, and then we can decide which way we want to go. There are angels who are commanded to bring down the rain. The angels who are commanded to do different functions on this earth. Everything is, of course, given to them. However, bear in mind, angels are created after the physical world. Then Allah has given them these functions as a blessing for them and as a blessing for this world as well. So we cannot have any control on them. We should not think about them. We just, of course, say salam to them. In different supplications, we have that Allah sends salam to Jibreel, to Mikael, to other angels. وَصَلِّ عَلَى مَلَائِكَتِكَ الْمُقَرَّبِينَ, and send salam to your close angels. These are the things, but we should not think that we have to direct our attention towards them. Every attention should be directed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Thank you so much. Very, very insightful answer. Another question is regarding the a'mal that we do on these nights. So some ulama have recommended that we do a'mal and many other things in congregation, but some things might feel mechanical in congregation, as you described earlier. So should we be splitting the night into congregational and personal time, and like is there a balance that we should be hitting, or is there an ideal amount of congregational and personal a'mal?
Yes, it's good to go to congregation, and even especially going to mosque. It is said that one Laylatul Qadr, Imam Ja'far Sadiq was very, very ill, that he couldn't even stand or sit. And he requested that they take his bed to the mosque so that he just lies there and benefits from the congregation, which are supplicating or doing a'mal, because he himself was very ill. It's of course good. However, we have to try to make best of our time, even in that congregation. If, for example, in that congregation, the collective dua or amal is not making much benefit to us, we do it there on our own. And of course, you know that the congregation doesn't cover the whole Laylatul Qadr. So after we come home, or before we go there, after we come home, we have to spend that. That is the prime time of A'mal in Laylatul Qadr that we spend privately with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Thank you. Sorry if we're taking a lot of your time. Just let us know when.
Pleasure.
When there's too many questions, because I think we have two more questions left. One is a question regarding the 15th of Sha'ban, which is also a night of destiny and full of baraka. How does this night relate to Laylatul Qadr? Is there any similarities? Is there any connections between the two nights?
No, there is only one Laylatul Qadr, and that's in Ramadan. However, 15th of Sha'ban, well, we have in some narrations that it's like Laylatul Qadr, that's in its merit. There are other narrations which say, for example, the Imam say it is for us, it's Laylatul Qadr as the night in Ramadan is Laylatul Qadr for the Prophet, but these are hadiths which have conflicting narrations coming against them. So we better stick to what is certain, and that is certainly there is one night of God, and that is in Ramadan. However, night of 15th of Sha'ban is a very, very blessed night. The Prophet used to spend this night in prayer and worship. And there are many narrations regarding the merits of keeping vigil on this night in Sha'ban. And also its blessing has increased by, of course, the birth of Imam al-Hujjah in the morning of this night.
Okay, thank you. The final question that we have is, Salam, following on from your comment on Angel Jibreel, is there a difference between ruh and spirit?
As I said, ruh and spirit. Well, we translate ruh as a spirit. So Ruh Al-Qudus is the Holy Spirit. And the ruh, which is higher than the angels, we also call spirit. Also, the ruh from which we are blown into us, as Allah mentions, وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي, is also a spirit. But it's a very, very special spirit that Allah attributes it to himself and say, this is my spirit. Not that Allah has a spirit or a soul or something else, but it is so honorable, so honored that Allah attributes it to himself.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Sheikh, thank you so much for, it was really an honor having you here, having a chance to listen to you and asking you questions.
My pleasure.
appreciate it. I'm sure everybody that was watching also appreciates it. To everyone that's watching, we highly recommend looking up the Sheikh's lectures of tafseer on YouTube. There's a lot available on YouTube, and they are very, very in-depth and do give you a good insight. If there are any other questions, hopefully we are going to have another event like this in the future. Do feel free to send us any questions afterwards, and we'll keep them in mind for things in the future. Keep your eyes on our Instagram page and also follow our YouTube page. We have on our YouTube videos of all the other talks that we've had during Ramadan. So this is our 4th one so far. So all these talks are recorded and they're on our YouTube page for anyone that wants to have a look at them. Okay, so on that note, thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you so much, Sheikh Bahmanpour, for being here, and hope you have a good rest of Ramadan and hope you all stay safe.
Thank you so much. Inshallah, Allah bless you. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.